But this is not love. This is not happiness. This is not. This is.
Please stop doing this. Please, you're causing so much fucking stress. I'm gonna die at this age. I'm gonna fucking die. You're causing me so much stress. Please stop. Please, I feel like I have a heart attack almost every day. Please stop. Please stop doing it. Please stop. He's so fucking mean.
Why
You're
are
a
you
fucking
with me?
bully. Stop.
You don't escape the fight, you escape the solution.
No.
You escape the solution.
No.
You escape figuring it out. We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me.
Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Fuck.
One of the major themes we saw throughout the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trials that whenever things got violent, Johnny would run away. And despite Amber claiming that she was a victim of DV, all the audio evidence pointed to her actually getting angry at Johnny when he chose to leave, calling him a coward, saying that he was a bad father for not being able to stand up and take the punches. And of course, one would ask how you can be a victim of DV if every time your alleged abuser is running away from you. And that's where I actually think Amber did become a victim of herself. Perhaps her unfortunate childhood upbringing, which may have been a likely contributor to her poor mental health. But bad mental health or a previous history of being a victim does not excuse you becoming an abuser. And what I haven't seen many people talk about and what I want to explore today is just how that played out. How Amber's intense fear of abandonment actually led her to believe that she was truly the victim of abuse. She just couldn't see that the abuser was her. And just to clarify, although I have a degree in biology and did several modules on neuroscience and have a little bit of insight into certain areas of mental health, and I am by no means qualified to give anything other than just my opinion, which is why I'm going to be deferring to the licensed psychologist, Psychology in Seattle, for everything here, which we're going to be looking at a couple of clips which I thought were particularly interesting. So this first clip comes from when Johnny was explaining that he'd just been told that his old managers and accountants had managed to lose him over $600 million, and as a result of that meeting where he was told just that, he was late to Amber Heard's 30th birthday, which of course made her extremely angry.
What did she say to you?
Not much. Not much. Except occasionally she would tear herself from the conversation that she was in just to lean towards me. I was sitting to her right, and I would get a quick earful of, I can't believe you've done this to me on my birthday. I can't believe, I'm so embarrassed.
So this would be consistent with borderline, particularly histrionic to some extent.
So Dr. Honda basically goes on to explain that part of what borderline people struggle with is fear of abandonment, and that usually comes from being abandoned during childhood, and that doesn't necessarily mean physically, because Amber, as per her testimony and other things during the trial, it's come out that, you know, her parents were meth or coke users and weren't emotionally or probably most of the time even physically able to care for her, so she had to care for both her and Whitney and was probably forced to take on that parental role, and as a result was seemingly abandoned by her parents. Just because she wasn't literally left on the side of the street by her parents, it doesn't mean that she wasn't abandoned by her parental figures in her life. This abandonment early on in childhood would then start to present itself in people with borderline seeking out forms of attention and craving it so desperately because they never got it when they were younger. And having people reject you and not give you that attention, especially from people that you love, who Amber clearly did at least at one point, then feels like poking and prodding a gaping wound that you have never had time to let heal.
Because when you have those wounds, and people with borderline histrionic do, and you have that poked at because you're, not only did your husband show up late, this is actually a huge flashpoint for people with borderline, if it isn't obvious, that when you say you're going to be somewhere to someone with borderline and you don't show up on time, every second that ticks by, they are hurt. Pain, 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 pain.
So Dr. Honda here is basically explaining how that fear of abandonment can also translate into feeling like you've been abandoned when someone doesn't show up on time. And every second that passes is just another knife in the wound. And when I heard this, I couldn't believe how well it actually matched onto some of the audio we've heard of Amber. It feels like complete betrayal, abandonment, and it's just like the person is doing it on purpose to hurt them. And I have no doubt that she probably equated all of that pain to being inflicted on her as abuse. And just a quick clarification, I do not believe that Amber was abused, and I don't think that anything Johnny did that she perceived as abuse could be classed as it. And I think when you go through back all of the audio, there wasn't actually any time that on audio at least he called her a slut or a whore. Each time when that came up was either through Amber's personal testimony, Whitney's testimony, stuff that he'd written down, which, okay, does kind of lend itself to maybe giving some credence to the fact that he probably has said it to her a couple of times, but that's probably been after she's hit him, and the others was all in text to other people. And despite all of the evidence of him sitting there with ice cream going down his neck and fancy paintings stacked up neatly on the bed, it's quite interesting that if that was something that was a repeated pattern of behaviour by Johnny, that we didn't get anything. And it's quite clear that the kitchen cabinet thing, the thing that she didn't leak to TMZ, was the worst thing that she could get on Johnny, which just shows he wasn't a threat to her. If that was the worst thing, where he's beating up his kitchen, then, you know, I wonder what the rest of the failed attempts look like. So I just wanted to clarify that I don't think anything that Johnny did ever, even if he did say some nasty things to her, could be equated to abuse and DV, which is what she was alleging. And everything that she suffered, which is primarily when he would leave, was brought on by her own physical violence towards Johnny. And so when you take a step back and you see the wider picture, all of her pain and suffering, which she perceived to be at the hands of Johnny, was actually brought on by her own actions. And so it could be said that Amber is right thinking she's a victim. She's a victim of herself. Because for the most part, it does seem like she truly believes she suffered, at least to some extent. It's just, I think, the lies that probably she knows are not the true version of her suffering, and she knows that no one would understand or even believe the way that she experienced victimization, what she believes was at the hand of Johnny. She doesn't understand that it's actually brought on by her own actions, and so at the end of the day, she is her own abuser.
If it's 3 minutes late, they'll have this much pain. If it's 2 hours late, it's a lot more pain. And when they have that much pain, they have that much commensurate rage and anger. Not all people with borderline will have anger and externalize it like that, but if she has it, she seems like she fits the profile of that. And then abuse and anger, verbal abuse, maybe violence.
And that is exactly what we saw with Amber. Let's listen to some of the audio.
Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Fuck.
So this piece of audio is just a clear example of how much pain it was causing her every time Johnny would say he was leaving, with her begging with him not to go. Because you can physically hear how distressed she is. It's like a child who is just hysterical. Which actually reminds me of, I can't remember his name, Ben something, the English housekeeper they had in Australia, when he basically said that he could hear Amber's tantrums through the wall, and it reminded him of a spoiled child.
You don't escape the fight, you escape the solution.
No.
You escape the solution.
No.
You escape figuring it out. We cannot work it out if you run away to the bathroom every time.
Listen to me.
And again, more audio of just her begging with him not to leave her, and every time he does, she feels like he's making it worse because of how much more pain it causes her.
I told you this so many times. You guarantee if you were interested in not fighting, you would be respectful if you needed the space to make, you would be careful not to perpetuate the fight longer by saying, I need a few minutes, and then actually honoring that. How can I trust you that it will be a few minutes when you've done this in the past and disappeared for hours?
Again, because every time he doesn't stick to the minute that he said he was going to be back by, it feels like he's betrayed her and that he's abandoned her again. And this was someone in her life who she sought that affection and trusted.
You know, I got mad at you in Australia about this. I said, baby, I want to trust you. It's hard for me not to try and work it out. If you want to be the person that's like, I need to cool down, help me do that. Give that to you. But I can't give it to you if you always let me down and fuck up and forget.
Because I gave you a time limit, because I said I'll be back in 3 minutes. So I'm just...
No, it's
if that
different.
happens, if it happens...
It's different. You never...
If it happens, I'm just going to say, look, I need some time. That's it.
I'm telling you, that will make it worse.
Yes, for Amber, because that is her fear response. Whereas for Johnny, his fear response is to escape. Everything he learned from when he was a child to deal with all of the abuse he was getting at home was either to numb it out through substance abuse or to literally leave. So you have one person whose fear response is to escape, and another's whose fear response is to need attention and has an intense fear of abandonment. So unfortunately, this relationship was doomed from the outset.
No.
I guarantee you it will.
If you're stuck in throwing punches...
I'm not talking about throwing punches. I'm talking about an argument.
Interesting how here she doesn't say, and when you throw punches too.
Right. In arguments, you tend to throw punches.
I'm talking about arguments. I'm not talking about the times when it's got physical. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments.
Yes, in our argument...
Earlier and earlier and earlier. Now you split. You take off right away. You don't deal with the issue. You don't deal with the confrontation, and you split. Whether it is, and then you do it for an undeterminate amount of time. You do it without actually respecting. When you do give me a time, like say I need a few minutes, you never actually honor anything close to that. So I can't trust you. And when, especially when you always take off.
A few minutes is also an expression. It's not...
Yes, exactly. And I'm not holding you to it. I'm saying hours and hours later is different. Come on, you can't act like you don't do it knowing it's gonna make me mad.
I'm not, it's not to get you mad. It's not to get, it's just to get out of a bad situation while it's happening before it gets...
So for Amber, every time he leaves, to her it's perpetuating the argument, because as soon as he doesn't come back when he said he's going to, she's fueled with rage, feeling like he's betrayed her and let her down. And it starts off the argument, if not at the same level, maybe even worse, because of how much rage is built up by that lack of trust she now has for Johnny, especially since it was someone in her life she saw possibly as a parental figure subconsciously, but as someone she was seeking that love and affection from. And Camille even picks it out while she's going through Amber's text to Johnny at a time when he had abandoned her. This need for attention.
This is a situation where you were trying to get Mr. Depp to pay attention to you, isn't that right?
No, I was trying to stop him from using.
And because he ran away from you at the first sign of trouble, you call him a monster, right?
I was trying to stop him from turning into the monster. The drugs are the key that opened the door.
Who was the real monster in this relationship, Miss Heard?
Lives in Johnny. Half of Johnny. It's not all of Johnny. The other half of him is wonderful and beautiful and the man I love.
I'd like you to take a look at...
So in this, we see Amber slip up, saying that she loves Johnny still. And I just thought that was really telling, because throughout this and she said it actually, I think on 3 separate occasions. And on the other 2, not in this one though, she corrected herself. Whereas this one, Camille just let that sit in with a sweet silence to let that wash over the jury.
It's not all of Johnny. The other half of him is wonderful and beautiful and the man I love.
I'd like you to take a look at...
That was one thing that Camille was really good at throughout the trial, which was just letting Amber incriminate herself throughout all of her non-answers and pledge versus donate, all the horrific audio we heard of her, and then the 2 images which were apparently from 2 separate occasions, and then 2 separate images from the same occasion when the metadata showed that they were the exact same image through, like, down to the second. It was beautiful. And this need for attention that Amber has, I think, was one of the reasons that Johnny's decided he was not going to give it to her. He was not going to look at her throughout the whole 6 weeks of this trial. Imagine how much that would have hurt her, especially, as we now know, if she still loves him. Here's Amber explaining why she thinks Johnny can't look at her.
Guilty. Because he knows he's lying. Otherwise, why can't he look at me? I survived. I survived that man, and I'm here, and I'm able to look at him.
Thank you. You were asked about a bruise.
I love that clip so much because Johnny just sits back and says to Benchu, I don't want to. And the way when she describes all of that, she stares him down. That's not something a victim would usually do, especially straight to your abuser. It just seems very odd behaviour. I understand there's no one set rule for every victim of DV. It's just very odd behaviour. And again, it kind of just reaffirms, probably in the eyes of the jury, that she is the aggressor. Which she doesn't seem to believe that she is, because even in this clip, she's begging with Johnny not to leave, and because he's wanting to leave, she's calling him a bully. And that just makes me again think maybe she is so deluded she actually thinks that this is what is classed as abuse. Because she is being put through so much physical pain, it literally feels like he is doing this on purpose to hurt her.
But this is not love. This is not happiness. This is not.
Please stop doing this. Please, you're causing so much fucking stress. I'm gonna die at this age. I'm gonna fucking die. You're causing me so much stress. Please stop. Please, I feel like I have a heart attack almost every day. Please stop. Please stop doing it. Please stop. He's so fucking mean. You're a fucking bully. Stop. Please stop. I've been begging you not to fight. I just said, can we please have a normal argument? Just even a normal conversation, fucking normal argument. And for the last hour, I've been begging you to please just leave it at that. Let's just go on with our night. I would have been able to come in with you. We would have been able to let it go in a few minutes. It would have been fine. It would just, if we allowed ourselves to have fucking normal arguments. Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Fuck.
And you can see how much it's hurting Johnny to just hear this back, because he knows how much he was suffering throughout all of this turmoil and how much pain that she was putting him through, which I think she doesn't seem to either appreciate or care, because everything is about her. And it's funny because in these texts she seems to be implying that the monster that causes her so much pain and would abuse her is that monster that would leave, and the pain that she has caused is from him leaving.
You write, monster is back. This is him. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
And then in the next message you write, quote, ran away, first sign of trouble. This is not the man you promised you would be. Did I read that correctly?
That is correct.
Then in the next one down you write, promised, swore to me you would be.
That is
Right?
correct. The non-monster.
Ms. Heard, you're talking about Mr. Depp running away from you at the first sign of trouble, aren't you?
No, I'm recognizing the clues at this point. When he would run away at the first sign of trouble, often that was a clue for me to know that he was back using again and that we were about to enter the next phase of the cycle.
And you describe his running away from you as the monster, right?
That wasn't what was a monster. The monster is the man who beat me up. The running away was just attached to that. It was a sign, a signal to me, as a clue, as somebody trying to put together clues that we were entering into that phase.
But in these messages, Ms. Heard, the
Exactly.
monster isn't Mr. Depp doing drugs, is it?
It was always the man who did drugs and beat me up. Yes, that's always been the monster.
That's not what you're saying in these messages.
That is exactly what I'm saying in the messages.
You don't describe Mr. Depp being violent, do you?
I do not describe that in this text message, no.
So it's a cowardly monster this time.
No.
Okay. And going down the page, you write a long series of text messages to Mr. Depp that don't get a response. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You write, come grown, face the shit, and we can do anything. You go on a little later to say, please come home. Let's apologize to each together. And continuing on page 77, you write, not go to bed mad. And then you say, sound okay? Sound like the priority in the long run? Come home. Don't be the monster. Be the man. Please. Please call me. Please. Continuing on page 78. You write, I don't want the monster. I need my man. I need to talk to you. Please, Johnny. Don't force me to be something else to you.
This just seems like weird threats of violence.
This is taking me for granted and I can never stop before this turns into something far darker.
Again, I think this just explains how she thinks all of this, no matter what she does, it's Johnny's fault because he pushed her to that point. And that's why I think she feels validated and rightfully calling herself a victim because she believes she was. Maybe not deep down on an inner core level, but I think surface value she's kind of deluding herself into thinking that she is, or she actually wholeheartedly believes it is. I can't quite tell which one.
Describing yourself in that text message, right?
The exact opposite. I'm trying to interrupt him starting a new cycle where he starts using again.
He's not
I'm trying
responding to
desperately
you, Miss Heard.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to desperately stop him.
Please answer the phone, you say. Doesn't this mean anything to you? And it goes on. And I won't read all these messages, but you're saying, please answer, over and over again.
Again, because Johnny has left, hasn't come back when he said he's meant to be, and she's in a frantic fear response, not knowing when he's gonna come back. And now here's another piece of audio of her basically begging with Johnny to stay. I think this was the one where it was lasting for hours on the driveway.
Bloodbath over walking away. I'm asking you to work it out over prolonging it and making it bigger.
Right, but if...
I mean, at least that's how I see it.
Indeed.
You know?
But if things get heated,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's going somewhere nasty, and the name calling begins, and all that stuff, I've got to get away. Because I don't want to be ever in a situation again like that.
Because that's Johnny's learned fear response, which she doesn't seem to respect or care about.
Never.
Me too. Me too.
Never. So
Me too.
that's don't freak out if we do have a fight and I walk away.
I'm not going to do that. I'm asking you to stay when you feel you are also in the interest of working it out.
I think it's a good idea for us to take a moment or two, take some time. Take some time to think by ourselves without being, barraged by each other's fucking bullshit whatevers. Let's take a break from it, and then come back, try and be calm, and walk through the thing. But I'm not gonna stand and fight with you. I will not. You can call me a coward.
I don't
You
want
can call
that.
me anything you want. All those names, do it. But I will not do it again.
And this piece of clip is just so interesting because he's saying, I'm not going to fight with you no matter what. You can call me a coward, you can degrade me all you want. I'm not going to fight with you. And I think this reflects back onto how Amber sees like typical matriarchal and patriarchal roles. She seems to be degrading Johnny every time he does something that she doesn't see as manly, which is kind of bizarre because she doesn't follow some stereotypical norms because she's bisexual. She dresses sometimes in quite a typically masculine way, so you'd think that she wouldn't hold those stereotypical and degrading roles for men and women, but she seems to always perpetuate the idea that Johnny isn't a true man if he doesn't stand there and fight. And I think that was echoed throughout those audio tapes where she was saying that it's not a fair fight if I hit you and you hit me back. She doesn't seem to understand that abuse is abuse and men can be abused just as much as women. And it also seemed to be a pattern that she'd say that Johnny wasn't a good father, and that perhaps echoes what she felt about her own father. They both seemed to be fueled by drugs and alcohol and let her down. So was she just reflecting back on her childhood kind of subconsciously and spewing that out through Johnny?
Okay, great. Then let's take our space and let's not do this anymore because I'm really getting frustrated. And I'm really, really, really sick of this argument.
I'm sorry.
Okay? So let me go and you go and I'll speak to you in a couple hours. Okay? Okay?
Stop. Okay.
Why are you saying stop?
Because
May
you're being
I
so-
go?
Please, it causes me so much stress when you leave, when you walk away from me with that. It's like you don't understand how much worse you're making this.
I can't believe this.
Please, you're making it worse for me.
Okay, I'm sorry for you.
I love that. I'm sorry for you, because I think at this point he was just so over it.
Please, I'm only trying to ass right now when you walk away like that. There's no reason to be mad.
Well, then say goodbye. I haven't walked away. You're not saying goodbye. You won't let me fucking leave. Let me leave.
Stop rushing me! Stop pushing me in the corner and then poking me with a stick and then saying, why aren't you saying the words you want me to say? Stop poking me! Stop rushing me! Stop throwing me against the wall and going, what? You don't like that wall? You don't like the fucking wall? Stop pushing me!
I'm not pushing you. I'm not rushing you. I said, I need space. I don't want this conversation anymore right now. I need space. And I will take my space. Whether you like it or not, I will take it. And you will take your space. But if you keep halting
I'm not doing anything
this
to you.
and continuing
I'm
with
not
the rhetoric,
continuing it. I'm begging you to stop.
I don't. Okay, stop. I'm stopped. Stop. Now I have to go. Okay? So we will speak to each other in a couple of hours. Okay? I hope you have a...
So yeah, I think from all of these audios and everything I've described, I think it's pretty clear that it was a way that Amber felt vindicated in calling herself an abuse victim, because every time Johnny left, she felt fueled with rage and like he was doing it on purpose to spite her and to hurt her. And that pain would then present itself in physical violence every time they either disagreed on something or he threatened to leave. So the more he threatened to leave, probably the worse she got with him, which then drove his fear response into overdrive, making him need and want to leave even more. So all of the pain and suffering and anguish that she felt of the hours of not knowing when he was coming back, and even the secret meetups after she'd got her restraining order where she just wanted to touch him. Although unfortunately it does seem like it was brought on by her own childhood abuse, that doesn't excuse becoming an abuser. Victims of abuse have to break the cycle of abuse, and unfortunately Amber didn't do that, and she became her own abuser. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this, and whether you'd be seeing videos kind of similar to this, a little bit different, and if you want me to talk about anything else in particular. Thank you so much if you've made it to the end. Hopefully I'll see you around the next one, and have a great day. Bye!